Well, we're joined by Dr. Stephen Nichols. Dr. Nichols, your opening session is on being a faithful disciple of Christ. Can we just begin answering the question, what is a disciple?
Yeah, a disciple is a learner. But to really grasp what we're talking about here, we have to set it in its Greco-Roman context. And in that context, disciples or learners would essentially attach themselves to a master. They would learn content from that master, and they would also follow the ways of that master, or as the New Testament speaks of it, the way of Christ. And so it's a learner, but a little bit different from the way we talk about learning today.
Well, can we jump forward to today just for a moment? When we think about learner, learning, why is it in the church that there seems to be a negative connotation to the idea of loving God with our mind? That the emphasis is always on the heart and not learning and being a disciple in that sense.
Yeah, on the one hand, Nathan, I can understand the sentiment. We want a sincere love for God. But for some reason, I think it's especially true of American evangelicals, we've sort of bought into this idea that I don't want to know about God, I want to know God. Well, the reality is, we can't know God until we know about God. And even take being a disciple of Jesus, we can't just jump in and follow Jesus' ethics or follow his behaviors. Those behaviors, those ethics are built on doctrine. And it's also built on our relationship to him through our redemption in him and what he has done for us. Now, on top of that, we can follow him. But knowing doctrine, knowing who God is, this is not antithetical to living the Christian life. It is essential to living the Christian life.
Now, you're in Luke chapter 9.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that chapter.
Yeah, it's a great chapter. There's so much in there. There's the feeding of the 5,000. There's Peter's confession. It's the first time Christ reveals to the disciples that he's going to be rejected and will be killed. But in there, Christ gives a very simple clarion call to discipleship. The invitation is, if anyone comes after me. Now, Christ follows that up with 3 conditions. If you want to follow me, you have to deny yourself, you have to take up your cross daily, he says, and you have to follow me. Now, we know what they mean. We don't really need to spend a lot of time understanding self-denial, bearing our cross, following Jesus. It's really, are we obedient to those things? But then Jesus follows up as a master teacher with 3 illustrations. Paradoxes, really. If we hold on to our life, like white knuckle, hold on to it, Jesus says we're going to lose it. We have to give it up for his sake. If we seek to gain the whole world, we'll lose our soul. And then in the last paradox, it sort of plays off of shame and glory. And this is very fascinating, Nathan, because the very next moment is the Mount of Transfiguration, where Jesus reveals his glory. Now, we can talk about the cost of discipleship. So go ahead and do it, right? Put out a balance sheet. And on the one side, you've got suffering, rejection, persecution, possibly death. You've got self-denial, you've got bearing the cross. It's all pretty heavy, negative stuff. But now on the other side, just put the word glory. And that just puts everything in a whole new perspective. Paul, I think, understood that the most when he said, this light and momentary affliction versus, and even uses the expression, the great weight of glory. There is no greater joy, there is no greater thing we can do with our lives than commit our lives to being a disciple of Jesus Christ. Not only for the joy we get in this life, but let's think about this, for the glory that is to come. That's what awaits Jesus' disciples.
Well, for those watching online, what advice or counsel do you have to help us be better disciples of Christ and perhaps even better disciplers of others?
I think a key word, especially in Luke 9:23, is the word daily. We sort of gear up for the big moments. And it's rarely, I think, the big moments that throw us off. It's in the routines. It's in the day-to-day where we learn to, as Calvin taught, and I think the Puritans mastered, vivify, come to life in the Spirit, put on the new man, as Paul says, and the mortification of sin, the putting to death of the old man. It's really in the routines. It's in the day-to-day. It's in the struggles of life, the challenges of life. And I think we need to remember that. And then I think we help, especially younger disciples as they're coming along, just to realize that establishing those routines of depending on God, trusting in God, the vivification and the mortification, that's how we can be obedient disciples of Jesus Christ.
Well, thank you, Dr. Nichols. Grateful for your time today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Nathan.